Hello and welcome back to another FPL video. Today we're taking a look at the brand new chip that has been introduced for the 24-25 season, and that is the Assistant Manager chip. Now this did get announced a couple of weeks ago, but it is going to be now active from next game week, which is game week 24, and we're going to go through absolutely everything you need to know. So we're going to have everything regarding point scoring with this Assistant Manager chip. We're also going to show some examples of some previous periods throughout the season where official managers would have got points for the Assistant Manager chip. We're also going to take a look at the popular chip strategies to see whereabouts the Assistant Manager could be best used, and of course we'll look at those individual game weeks and see who the best managers could be to use at that time. So if you do enjoy this, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, because we do weekly FPL content with transfers, captains, team selections and all of that stuff as well. So if you do subscribe, it would be absolutely much appreciated. Let's jump straight into it. So as we take a look at the Assistant Manager chip in itself, maybe you haven't really looked into it as much, or you've just kind of forgot what happens, or you don't really understand. So I'm going to kind of explain what actually goes on with this Assistant Manager chip. So this chip allows you to use a manager for 3 game weeks. You can pick any manager in the Premier League and you can have them for 3 game weeks, and you will score points based on how their team performs. So if you do choose, you can use a transfer to swap your manager during the 3 game weeks. So if you decide that you wanted Pep Guardiola for 2 of those game weeks, you can use one of your saved transfers and swap him to someone like Arne Slot for that final game week. Something to keep in mind is that you cannot use the Assistant Manager chip at the same time as any other chip. So as we near the end of the season, obviously people are starting to prepare to use their chips. You just got to keep in mind that for those 3 game weeks that you're using your Assistant Manager, you can't use anything else, whether that's a wild card, a free hit, triple captain or a bench boost. Now in terms of as the point scoring goes, if your team / manager picks up a win, they're going to get 6 points. If they pick up a draw, you're going to get 3 points. If you pick up a goal, you're going to get 1 point per goal scored, and you're going to get 2 points as well for every clean sheet. Now something to keep in mind that is a massive factor with this chip is that if your manager faces a team that's ranked 5 places or higher in the table, you're going to get an extra 10 points per win and an extra 5 points per draw. So that's absolutely huge when it comes to, picking up those extra points. We'll see it in a minute when we look at some examples as to why it is so important. But when you are picking an assistant manager, it could be the difference between like a 50 point haul over 3 game weeks and like 15 to 20 points. So as we take a look at the different points of the season where you could have maybe used an Assistant Manager chip, and we've got 3 examples here. So we've got Iraola from game week 8 to game week 10, where they went on a nice run, picking up a win against Arsenal, a draw against Aston Villa, and a win against Manchester City. Now with the wins, as I said, you do get 6 points per win, so that would be 12 points for the win. Obviously the draw against Aston Villa is going to be 3 points. The goals that they scored picked up 5 points. They picked 1 clean sheet against Arsenal, which got them 2 points, and then that 5th place league bonus picked them up an extra 25 points, because obviously all these teams were five or more places ahead of them in the league. So that would have got Iraola a total of 47 points over the 3 game weeks, which is absolutely massive. Now when you compare this to someone like Arne Slot, we've got Slot from game week 8 to 10 as well. He picked up wins and also difficult fixtures, but picked up a lot less points. So he picked up a 2-1 win against Chelsea, a 2-each draw against Arsenal, and a 2-1 win against Brighton, which is obviously very impressive. But when it comes to the Assistant Manager chip, there is 0 5th place table bonus available there, because Liverpool were top of the league at the time. So he only picked up the 12 for the wins, 3 for the draws, 6 for the goals, no clean sheets in that period, and that only gained him a total of 21 points throughout those difficult fixtures where Liverpool still got results. So again, like I said, with that 5th place bonus, you are really benefiting from that. Iraola's picked up more than double the points that Slot did in that same period. Now another one that I took a look at was Silva for Fulham, and within game week 14 to game week 16, picked up a win against Brighton, a draw against Arsenal, and a draw against Liverpool as well. Now again, 6 points for a win, 6 points for draws, 6 points for goals. No real differences to the other managers here, but with the 5th place table bonus, he picked up an extra 15 points, which got him 33 points in total. So again, only winning one game in there with 2 draws, and he still picked up 12 more points than Arne Slot did with between game week 8 and 10. So that really does show you how important the table bonus could be, and does really put me off the likes of Arne Slot, Arteta. You know, teams within like the top 4 aren't really going to be great to use the assistant manager chip on, because even if they are picking up really good results against tough teams, they're not really going to be picking up the same amount of points as one manager down the bottom of the table, even picking up just one win against a team 5 or more places above. So taking a look at the value of each of these assistant managers. Now this is from the 11ify.com website. It's a great website for lots of Premier League stats. They've put together a value measurement for each of the Premier League managers based on the price that they are. So managers are ranging from 0.5 million to 1.5 million. So not as really that expensive. Obviously you are going to need that budget available when you do play this chip. But in terms of value, as you can see down the list on the left hand side, it is mainly your cheaper managers that do have the best value. So Graham Potter is given a really good value as the West Ham manager, followed by David Moyes at a 95% value, McKenna for Ipswich at 90%, Emery for Aston Villa 84% value, Amorim for Manchester United at 79% value. So you can see all the rest of it yourself. But when it comes to the ones down the bottom, you've got Marco Silva, 0% value at 1.1 million. Eddie Howe, very, very low value as well. He's 1.5 million, one of the most expensive in the game. He's only got 5% when it comes to the value. Nuno's very low, Maresca's very low. Again, like I said, you're talking managers that are very high in the table, do have a pretty low value. Imagine it would be because you aren't picking up the table bonus from, any of their games. So while I wouldn't use this as a deciding factor, it's still definitely something to keep in mind. I wouldn't be just looking at the top 5 and thinking they're the ones I've got to use. It is just something to keep in mind when it comes to the points you're going to get for the amount of money you're using. So obviously we need to try and decide when we want to use this assistant manager chip. Now there's not that many game weeks to go in the grand scheme of things. We are talking 15 more game weeks until the end, and this assistant manager is going to take up 3 of those. So you're talking roughly 20% of the remaining game weeks are going to be taken up by an assistant manager chip. Now what we've got to do is take a look and see where the double game weeks are going to be, where the blank game weeks are going to be, so we know when to use our other chips, because we don't want to have them overlapping with our assistant manager chip and then miss out on valuable points. So I've taken this from Ben Crellin's planner over on Twitter. You can see his @ in the top left of the graphic. Definitely go and give him a follow because he's absolutely brilliant when it comes to planning. Now, all of the stuff you're seeing on here is basically just projections apart from, the upcoming game weeks. So none of this is going to be absolutely final. It is very difficult to try and predict what's going to happen 10 weeks in advance when it comes to double game weeks when fixtures aren't even confirmed yet. So when it comes to this assistant manager, it is pretty much just projections, especially when it comes to the five place table bonus. You've got no idea what the league's going to look like in 10 game weeks time. So we are just looking at, potential at this point, because there's no way to guarantee anything. So as you can see, in game week 24, which is this upcoming double game week, we have Liverpool and Everton both with a double. Now it is going to be a very popular time for people to use their triple captain chip, but we are going to take a look at the chips in just a little minute. In game week 25, we have another potential for a double game week, which would be Fulham and Spurs, both playing against each other with an extra fixture. And this will only occur if Spurs reach the Carabao Cup final and finish top 8 of the Europa League. So it's not going to be until very last minute until we find out if this will be a double game week. I believe it's given about a 15% chance of happening, so it isn't very likely, but again, something to keep in mind just in case. In game week 29, it is looking like it's going to be a blank game week. The 2 teams that make the Carabao Cup final will blank in game week 29, which means 4 teams aren't going to have a fixture. In game week 33, it's looking like we're going to get a double game week, and that is going to be the teams that did blank in game week 29 moving their fixtures to game week 33. So they're all going to have a double game week in there. Then in game week 34, the week after, the teams that reach the FA Cup semi-final are likely going to blank in game week 34. So again, you are talking a fairly big blank game week in game week 34. And then in game week 36, we have the teams who blanked in game week 34 all having their games moved to game week 36. So it's not the most most difficult thing in the world. Again, feel free to pause and screenshot if you want to keep this for yourself. But obviously when it comes to chips, this is what we've kind of got to work around. So I've picked out what looks like one of the most popular chip strategies that's going around right now. Game week 24, a lot of people are going to be using their triple captain on Mohamed Salah. I think anyone that has it left available will probably be using it in game week 24, where two teams double, which is obviously Liverpool and Everton. In the low chance that game week 25 does happen, double game week 25, that is obviously going to be Fulham and Spurs. No one's really going to be using any chips for that. There's not really much reason to. In game week 29, it looks as though there's going to be 4 teams blanking, which you're going to see a lot of people using transfers and stuff just to make sure they have no one in game week 29 that blanks, which is why the wildcard is a popular strategy in game week 30, because then you can bring all those players back. Now in double game week 33, that is looking like a chance that you could potentially bench boost. Obviously you want to use your bench boost in double game weeks because you can fill your whole team and your bench with players with double game weeks and obviously get the most points possible. Now this is also on par with game week 36, so there is a chance that one of game week 33 or one of game week 36 is going to be the bigger double game week, so you want to use your bench boost on the bigger one, of course, because it's going to have more players with double game weeks. So that leaves us open with a free week on a double game week to potentially use that assistant manager chip and get 4 games out of them instead of 3. Again, I'll explain it a little bit more in just a second. And then finally, game week 34 looks like it is going to be a big blank game week with 8 teams potentially blanking, and that is where you would probably use your free hit. So again, you're looking more at avoiding the game weeks where you want to be using your chips. Essentially, it's not that difficult to understand. You just want to be avoiding those big game weeks when it comes to blanks and stuff like that. So from looking at all this, I've pretty much identified 3 places where you could use your assistant manager chip to get the best out of it. So we've got game week 24 to game week 26. If you don't have a triple captain chip, I think this could be a very decent move. There's 4 managers that you could potentially use your your assistant manager on here, and that is Arne Slot, David Moyes, Marco Silva and Ange Postecoglou. Obviously with Marco Silva and Ange Postecoglou, it is only if Fulham and Spurs pick up that double game week, which is still a very low chance, again about 15%. So between 24 and 26, you're looking at Slot and you're looking at Moyes, because they have double game weeks, and if you don't have a triple captain chip available, it is definitely a time to consider using the assistant manager. Plus it gets it out of the way right at the start, you don't have to worry about it at any other time, and you can focus your team on your actual team rather than saving budget for an assistant manager. Now the remaining 2 areas where you could use the assistant manager is between game week 31 and game week 33, and then the final 3 game weeks of the season in game week 36 and game week 38. Now this all again depends on which double game week is going to be bigger. If double game week 33 is bigger, you would use your bench boost then and then try use your assistant manager in game week 36. But if double game week 36 is going to be bigger, then I would try and use the assistant manager in game week 31 to game week 33. This way you're essentially just making the most out of all the double game weeks and blank game weeks with the remaining chips that you've got, and you're getting that extra game out of your assistant manager. So now that we've identified the 3 best times to use the assistant manager chip, let's take a look at those 3 areas and see which managers could actually be available. So game week 24 to game week 26, we obviously mentioned the 4 managers. Marco Silva and Ange are very unlikely to pick up that double game week, but just in case they do, we've got them in here as well. Now Arne Slot, he's got Everton away and Bournemouth away in game week 24. He's got Wolves at home in game week 25, and he's got Manchester City away in game week 26. Now, as we already mentioned, as Liverpool are top of the league, there's not going to be any league table bonus there for any extra points. And the fact that it's 3 away fixtures, I don't really think Slot is going to be a good option. I know a lot of people obviously have Salah and Trent for the double game week, and there is a 3rd spot available if you didn't go for Gakpo or a Van Dijk or Konate. So it does obviously open up the possibility of bringing in Arne Slot. But for me personally, I think the fixtures aren't brilliant. You know, 3 away fixtures isn't obviously great. And the fact that you aren't picking up that table bonus for the wins, I don't really think Slot's going to be a good option. I don't really think it's nailed on wins either. Man City obviously starting to pick up form. Everton and Bournemouth. Everton with the new manager and David Moyes, who are performing a little bit better now. And Bournemouth, who are in red hot form, they're now also away from home. I don't think Slot really makes the most sense. When we're looking at David Moyes, however, he's obviously got the double game week with Liverpool at home and Leicester at home in game week 24. He's got Crystal Palace away in game week 25, and he has Manchester United in game week 26 at home. Now, if you're wondering what the plus and the minus are below, this is how far below or above they are in the Premier League table. So when we're looking at Liverpool at home for Moyes, they are 15 places above Everton, so you are essentially guaranteed the table bonus if Moyes is able to pick up anything against Liverpool. Now, it looks very unlikely that he is going to get any sort of table bonus against Leicester, but that is a very decent fixture for him to pick up just regular points. 6 points for a win, 3 for a draw, a couple of goals in there and a clean sheet as well. Now, for game week 26 and game week 25, Crystal Palace away and Manchester United away, they're 4 and 3 places above Everton at the minute. So by the time those game weeks come round, we could really see Palace 5 points above Everton and going into that game with a table bonus if Everton can get a result. The same with Manchester United when it comes to game week 26. So by the time this comes round, I would make sure to keep an eye on Crystal Palace's match this weekend against Brentford, because if they win it, I'm pretty sure they go 5 above Everton. So something to keep in mind. I think this looks like a really good opportunity to use the assistant manager chip, because you could get 3 matches with table bonus out of it, but obviously it does really depend on results building up to those game weeks. When it comes to Marco Silva and Ange, however, both of them don't really look like they've got great fixtures, and the table bonus isn't really available either. When you look at Marco Silva, Newcastle away, Nottingham Forest at home, Spurs at home, that's 3 tough fixtures, and they're only really getting table bonus in one of those at the minute with Nottingham Forest, potentially Newcastle depending on what happens on their results. Spurs, they're not going to get table bonus in a difficult fixture, and Crystal Palace, it looks unlikely they're going to get table bonus either. So for me, that totally rules out Marco Silva, even if that double game week does happen. For Ange, on the other hand, is kind of a similar situation. Brentford away, potential table bonus, with Man United at home and Fulham away. Again, 2 very difficult fixtures. There is a potential for table bonus in the Fulham match depending on where they are when the time game week 25 comes around. And then they've got Ipswich away, which is a game you would expect Spurs to win. It is still an away fixture, so it could be a little bit more difficult, but you're not going to get any table bonus in that match either. So for me, I think even if that double happens with Fulham and Spurs, I would be ignoring them. Don't think I'd go anywhere near them with that assistant manager chip. The same with Slot in game week 24 to 26. The only one I would be keeping an eye on here is David Moyes. Next, we're going to take a look at the second area which you could use the assistant manager chip, and that is game week 31 to game week 33. Now, this would be bench boosting in game week 36, so that is just something to keep in mind. Now, obviously, we are using the current league table positions. This is before game week 23 has started, so if you're watching this on Saturday, Sunday, which is the 25th or the 26th, these are the league table positions from before this weekend's matches. Now, obviously, when the time these game weeks come around, the table is going to look totally different. So as I mentioned, this is only projections. You can come back to this video if you want in 7 or 8 game weeks time, and then redo all the league table positions to see which ones could be best. But these are the 6 managers available that should have double game weeks in game week 33. So as I mentioned, you are getting 4 games out of this rather than 3 games, which is obviously going to be a lot more beneficial. Now, starting off with Arne Slot. Again, the fixtures look actually not too bad, but there is not going to be any table bonus available with Liverpool top of the league. So for me, I think the table bonus is so important when it comes to the assistant manager. I think if you're going to pick someone like Slot, you're limiting yourself to about 20 points max, whereas if you go for someone who's got a couple of games of table bonus, you can get 40 up to 50 points, which just seems a lot more worth it to me. Now, when we've got Unai Emery there as well in game week 31, he is playing against Nottingham Forest at home. Game game week 32, he's got Southampton away, and then in game week 33, it looks like it's going to be a difficult double with Newcastle at home and Liverpool at home, but there is potential for 2 table bonus matches there, depending on how the league table is looking at that point. You can add a third one into that as well with Nottingham Forest in game week 31, obviously depending on how the table is looking. So I think Emery's one to keep an eye on. If it gets to the point where Villa are maybe sitting 8th or 9th in the table by game week 31, they're going to have 3 games with table bonus there with Liverpool, Newcastle and Nottingham Forest available. All home fixtures as well, which is definitely something to keep in mind. So Emery's definitely one to keep an eye on. Nothing we can really say about it right now. You know, it is 7 odd game weeks away. For Ruben Amorim, another one that is definitely worth keeping an eye on. At the moment, he would have 3 games with table bonus. Manchester City at home, Newcastle away, Wolves at home and Bournemouth away. Now, we know how it works with the Manchester derby. Anyone can win that half the time. Manchester United are at home and should be able to get table bonus in that match against Manchester City. So if he can pick up a win, any sort of result would guarantee him, you know, at least 16 points if he picks up a win there. And that's not including goals scored and clean sheets. Newcastle away is going to be a little bit more difficult at St James's Park, but again, it's another match where he could easily get table bonus. Wolves at home, no table bonus would be likely available, but it is a match where United can get goals, get clean sheets as well, and it should be a straightforward win. And then finally in game week 33 is Bournemouth away. Again, a difficult fixture, but table bonus is on the cards. So another one to keep an eye on the league table for, because Ruben Amorim looks like he could be really nice value in game week 31. Eddie Howe's another one that should be having a double game week in game week 33. However, we saw him on the value scale. He was second bottom at only 5% value. And again, you're not going to get any table bonus from him unless Newcastle go on a huge run of losing games. So for me, I'm ruling out Eddie Howe. I'm ruling out Arne Slot so far because the table bonus just means a little bit too much. Moving on to Glasner for Crystal Palace. He looks like he could be really decent value as well. He's got a match against Brighton at home, which is a big derby. By the time that comes round, Brighton have the potential to be 5 league positions above. They are currently 3 as of recording this video. So again, definitely something to keep in mind because a home fixture in a derby with a team that's 5 places above could be absolutely huge for that table bonus. Then the rest of the 3 games, Manchester City away, Bournemouth at home and Newcastle away, there is potential for table bonus there as well. Obviously not as big an advantage playing the away fixtures against Man City and Newcastle. You actually need the team to get a result first. Whether Crystal Palace are going to be able to pull that off, I'm not really too sure, but definitely one to keep an eye on, I think, with Oliver Glasner. And then finally we've got Iraola from Bournemouth. Again, another one I think we would have to unfortunately rule out. With Bournemouth being in such good form at the minute, they are just a lot higher in the table than, you know, the teams that are playing against. So all 4 of their matches are against teams that are lower than them in the table. Bournemouth aren't exactly the team that can go and, you know, win every single game either, so you're not going to be getting consistent 6 points. They are still going to be tough fixtures and you're not going to get any table bonus out of that. So would be probably ruling out Iraola there. The ones I would keep an eye on from game week 31 to 33 is going to be Unai Emery, Ruben Amorim and Glasner. And looking at the final area of the season to potentially use that assistant manager chip, it is game week 36 to game week 38. It's going to be the final 3 games of the season. Again, you would probably want to use the chip here if double game week 33 is bigger than game week 36. So again, you can see that I'm not going to go through it every single time, but you can see where the league positions are currently standing for our potential opponents. Again, these are the 6 managers down the left hand side that should double in game week 36. Again, maybe they won't, so this is only projections, so it is something that you're going to probably have to come back to make sure that they do have 1, the double, and 2, a good chance at table bonus. So Arne Slot, again, no table bonus available, would probably rule him out. Unai Emery, very little chance of table bonus with Spurs and Man United way down lower in the table, and they are pretty difficult games. Bournemouth in there as well. Would probably rule out Emery for this section. Pep Guardiola as well in a similar position, 4 matches against teams that are lower than them in the table, so another one that I probably wouldn't be looking at. And of course he is a little bit more expensive. Ange, however, could be a really, really nice option. Game week 36, game week 37 and game week 38. He's playing against all 4 teams that are currently sitting above them in the table. Now, I don't know where Spurs are going to be sitting in game week 36, but I doubt it's going to be in 15th place that they currently are now. So by the time game week 36 comes round, they may be, within reach of these teams and the table bonus isn't available, which makes it a much less appealing time to use the chip. But as of right now, Crystal Palace away could potentially be a table bonus game. Liverpool at home looks like it's very likely going to be a table bonus game. I think you can basically guarantee that because Spurs probably aren't going to make top 5 in the league this season. You're getting Aston Villa away, who are currently 7 above Spurs, and you're getting Brighton at home as well, who are 6 above Spurs. Now, as I said, I don't know where Spurs are going to be, but could be in a position where they are fighting for Europe or, fighting for relegation. We actually don't know at this point, but you could potentially get Spurs in some winnable fixtures with some nice table bonus as well. So again, definitely one to keep an eye on. David Moyes as well, another one that has a decent opportunity for an assistant manager chip. The only problem would be is the 3 fixtures where he would have table bonus are all away fixtures. Obviously we've seen it in game week 24. He was having more home fixtures against some of those teams where he would have more of a chance of picking up a result, but game week 36 they are away. But, however, Everton could be fighting for relegation at this point, depending on how the rest of the season goes. And we all know that relegation teams manage to play like prime Barcelona. So Fulham away, Chelsea away, Newcastle away, at the moment looks as though it would be games with table bonus. And then a game against Southampton at home, you would expect them to win, get goals and clean sheets in there as well, even if they don't pick up 3 results in the other 3 matches. Finally, rounding it off with Enzo Maresca, probably wouldn't be looking at him either. Again, he is playing against teams that he is above, or Nottingham Forest, who are only 1 place above Chelsea. So no table bonus really available for Enzo Maresca, which means game week 36, we're probably looking at only Ange and Moyes for our assistant managers. I don't really think anyone else can make the cut from this table. So I hope that was pretty understandable. I know it was a lot of information to take in, and again, at this point, it is just a lot of projections. But I have picked out 5 managers who could have a really good time when it comes to table bonus and using them on the best 3 weeks for the assistant manager chip. Now, we're starting off with David Moyes, and that is using them this week in game week 24 up till game week 26. He's got the 2 home games in game week 24, get the table bonus against Liverpool, what should be a comfortable win against Leicester at home, potentially getting clean sheets and goals. Obviously a new manager bounce with Moyes just back. If there is any time where Everton are going to pick up a result against Liverpool, it's when they've got a new manager and it's when they're playing at home. They've done really well in recent weeks since Moyes did come back, and even if they picked up a draw against Liverpool, you are talking a lot of points. As we said, I believe it was 10 for a draw against a team 5 or more in the table. Even a draw against Liverpool would basically set you up for a really nice assistant manager, and that is coming into games against Leicester, Palace and Manchester United as well. When looking at Palace, again, you do kind of have to keep an eye on the table. I think if Palace do beat Brentford on Sunday, this looks like a really, really good chance to use David Moyes, because you should get the table bonus for the match against Palace as well. And as you can see by the stats here as well, Everton haven't actually lost to Crystal Palace in their last 8 matches. So if you can get table bonus again and get a draw, even a win, you're talking big, big points from David Moyes. And then finally, you'll be rounding that off with a home fixture to Manchester United. Again, potential table bonus there. We are talking 3 weeks time. They are currently 3 places above Everton, so another one to keep in mind. If you don't get table bonus here, you could potentially use a transfer as well and move to someone else with a better fixture in game week 26. That's a little bit too much to go into in this video, but it's something that you could keep in mind. Something else to think about, however, is that Everton have lost their last 6 matches to Manchester United. Now, that isn't something that is, an absolute game breaker. It's just some extra stats to keep an eye on. Our next pick is Ruben Amorim in game week 31. Again, the Manchester derby here could be a very big chance for Amorim to pick up a lot of points. City are currently 8 places above, and United are playing the derby at home. big opportunity there for table bonus and win for Manchester United. They've got Newcastle away. Again, table bonus available there if they are still 5 above by game week 32. It's going to be a difficult game for them to win. If this was at home, it'd be a lot more favourable, but it is still a match to keep an eye on. And then the double in game week 33. They've got Wolves at home. I'm expecting a win there. I'm expecting goals. I'm expecting a clean sheet. The difficult game there is going to be Bournemouth away, but there is still possibilities for the table bonus there. So you're talking potentially 3 games in there with the table bonus. Wins against Manchester City to start it off would be absolutely huge as well. Third, we're going with Glasner from game week 31 to game week 33. Again, similar with Amorim, he's got that derby match to kick us off at home as well. You are looking at potential table bonus by the time this match comes around as well. However, I think the other fixtures are going to be a little bit more difficult. You know, Manchester City away, Newcastle away, Bournemouth at home. Some of the best on-form teams at the minute. It will be difficult for him to pick up wins. Obviously, if there is any losses, you are talking very, very little points. So again, one to keep an eye on the table. If Brighton are 5 above Crystal Palace, it could be an option for you. If not, I would probably leave Glasner alone here. I think the table bonus against Brighton is where you're going to have your best chance at points. The fourth one we've picked out is Ange in game week 36. Again, the last 3 games of the season, it could add a little bit more excitement for you as well. Game week 36, they were looking at Crystal Palace away and Liverpool at home. Again, potential table bonus for both of these matches. All depends on where Spurs are in the table. Again, I do expect them to be a lot higher than they are at the minute. So by the time these 4 matches come around, there could be no table bonus available. You know, Brighton are only 6 ahead right now. Villa are only 7 ahead right now. So again, one to keep in mind. But if there is table bonus available here, you could be looking at 4 matches where they are 5 places or more above. So definitely one to keep an eye on for Ange in game week 36. And then the final one we're looking at is David Moyes again, and that is also in game week 36. You are talking a potential relegation battle depending on where they are. The only problem with this one is going to be the amount of away fixtures that there is. But again, potential table bonus is there for Fulham, for Chelsea and for Newcastle. It is just the away fixtures, and actually getting the results on the table could be a bit of a problem. But the game against Southampton, I'd be expecting goals, I'd be expecting a clean sheet. You're not going to get table bonus from that one, so you are going to be relying on miracles. Again, when teams are fighting for relegation, anything can happen. Wins against Fulham away for Everton isn't something that's completely out of the question. Chelsea and Newcastle as well. So that's the 5 managers that I do really like. Again, everything could totally change by the time these come around, so I would make sure to look at the original lists and come back to them when the time comes around. So that is the assistant manager chip. Hopefully you've learned something at least from this video. I know it was a lot of information to try and take in, so hopefully, you know, you've at least took bits and bobs from this and you can come back to this in a couple of weeks' time and really make a good decision on when you want to use that assistant manager chip. But I really do think those 3 times, game week 24, game week 31 and game week 36 is going to be the best time to use that assistant manager chip. Again, it is essentially impossible to try and predict exactly who's going to be playing who and who's going to be getting table bonus in 10 game weeks time. So these are of course just all projections. So hopefully you can at least take something from this. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe as well for more FPL content, and I'll see you all in the next video.